Happy October. It is Tuesday, October 3rd. If I actually look a little tired, it's because I've actually been up for almost 24 straight hours. But the more things change, the more they stay the same. I've always kind of made it a point that if I was going to do multiple entries about any professional team or college team, I did not want to use the same subject matter. Well, sure enough, this one just can't be passed up. The worst team in the NFL right now, and it's not even close, are the Chicago Bears. I don't care what you say about the Carolina Panthers also being 0-4. Carolina's trotting out a rookie quarterback who even got hurt and missed a game and a half in Bryce Young. What's Chicago's excuse? This was supposed to be a season where Chicago was supposed to get a little bit better. They bring Chase Claypool into the equation last year in a trade with the Steelers, giving up a second-round pick that the Steelers used to get Joey Porter Jr. And all it's actually turned into is Chicago now has a franchise record 14-game losing streak, and they've lost 16 out of 17 or 17 out of 18, one of those. The funny aspect is that after the first 3 games of last season, the Bears were 2-1 and then just went on this absolutely monstrous tumble. And there's really no sign of it getting any better. Now, the Bears were 0-2, went into Kansas City in week 3, got shellacked 41-7 in a game that they were losing 41-0. Taylor Swift was in the Chiefs luxury box, the owner's box, sitting next to Travis Kelce's mother, because that's now her new beau. So she got to actually see, the Chiefs completely dominate there. And then you'd figure maybe the Bears could have a shot against Denver this past Sunday. Now keep in mind, again, the Bears did just give up 41 in Kansas City, but Denver gave up 70 to Miami also in week 3. What happens? The Bears are up 28-7 with 4 minutes and 11 seconds to go in the third quarter. According to that probability bar that you can use through the ESPN Game Center page, the Bears were over a 98% favorite to win the game at that point. And sure enough, Denver wins this one 31-28, scoring 24 points unanswered in a little over 19 minutes. Just absolutely ridiculous, or a little over 17 minutes. Again, this is the sleep deprivation. I was told there would be no math. But this is also a game where Chicago had over 450 yards of total offense. Justin Fields had over 300 yards of passing. They had a 100-yard rusher and a 100-yard receiver that was not Chase Claypool, and we'll cover that here in a second, and still found a way to blow this game. And it really doesn't, you'd figure maybe they could have a shot on Thursday night against the Commanders in Washington on Prime Football. The Commanders are 2-2 and looked a little bit better than people are going to give them credit for, running out Sam Howell, another young quarterback. But the idea with the Bears right now is they don't know what they're doing. It's Justin Fields has already kind of backhandedly criticized the coaching staff for the play calling. Chase Claypool, again, brought over from the Steelers in a trade last year, criticized his role in the offense right now to make things a little bit more productive for him, which honestly, when you've got a guy of the caliber of Chase Claypool, you definitely want to use him a little bit more. He's got a bit of a point, but he naturally went about it the entirely wrong way. And then the Bears decide to bench him. They make him inactive. They tell him to stay home. They go out and they get beat by Denver, and now they're looking to trade Claypool as quickly as he came in. So kind of wore out his welcome a little bit in Pittsburgh, gets moved. This is now the 3rd time he's going to be marked as inactive. It's the first time that Claypool was marked as inactive for something that was not an injury-related incident. And now they're looking to move him. Now with his value, you might get a 3, maybe a 4, because you're certainly not going to get that 2 back that you basically gave up to Pittsburgh, because he's damaged goods at this particular point. But Claypool's not the only damaged good. there's a ton of other damaged goods in the Bears locker room right now, and I'm sorry to say it, even though he had a pretty good rookie campaign, Justin Fields has predominantly regressed. As it stands right now, what I was just looking at, Fields last week after the Kansas City loss was dead last in quarterback rating amongst 33 quarterbacks who had started games. Now there's only 32 teams, and keep in mind that Aaron Rodgers is not part of this because Rodgers went 0 for 4, didn't even actually have enough snaps to qualify for that. So you had the issue with Carolina just adding into that there between Bryce Young and also it's going to come to me here. It doesn't matter. The Carolina's got 2 on that list, but after the 300-yard plus performance, 4 touchdowns this weekend, Fields actually now has himself up to 28th, but he's only ahead of Bryce Young at 33, who again has missed a game and a half, Ryan Tannehill, who has been largely ineffective, Desmond Ridder, who's basically a placeholder right now in Atlanta, Kenny Pickett, who actually went out injured and is probably going to be out for the better part of a month, Joe Burrow, who actually came back way too soon after his injury, trying to get Cincinnati back to the promised land. And then again, now you've got Fields, and he's just right behind Daniel Jones and Zach Wilson, who are just guys basically just hanging on for their careers right now because neither one of them can do anything right. The gap between him and anyone else of marketable value right now, Derek Carr's been largely ineffective. Mac Jones is ridiculously bad the last couple of weeks. Trevor Lawrence is at 22 and he's got a QBR of 48.9. Fields is at 35.7. That's a very big gap to make up at this point. Brock Purdy's leading the NFL at 84.6. So just think of that Justin Fields was an 11th overall pick of the Bears just a couple of years ago, has a very good rookie campaign, and now is putting up these level of numbers where Brock Purdy was a Mr. Irrelevant just a few years back, gets the Niners into the playoffs, and has actually got them right now as one of the odds-on favorites in the NFL, certainly the odds-on favorite in the NFC. And you saw a little over a week ago, defensive coordinator Alan Williams resign. Now, that's the infamous, one side saying resigned. It's basically speak for, hey, we're letting you go at that particular point for inappropriate conduct. And depending on who you ask, it's the media or the Bears subtly saying, hey, we got to let you go. You can't be doing things like this, but then Williams is saying he's resigning, citing family and health concerns, which is straight out of the Urban Meyer playbook, or really any other head coach who kind of steps away under false pretenses or controversial circumstances. The idea that the Bears were thought to not so much contend, but certainly get themselves out of maybe the bottom 10 in the NFL this year is absolutely laughable based off of just the last couple of weeks. Their defense can't stop anybody right now. They're 0-4. They're naturally 0-2 at home. They got shellacked by the Packers in the opening week. They lost to Baker Mayfield and Tampa. Then there's the shellacking to the Chiefs, and then the loss this week. And it doesn't really get a whole. You would figure on paper it might get a little bit better for them because their next 4 games are at the Commanders on Thursday, home to the Vikings, home to the Raiders, at the Chargers. And out of all of those, again, you've got what we talked about with quarterback in Washington. Kirk Cousins is on the downslope of his career in Minnesota. Jimmy Garoppolo is hurt, and Justin Herbert's also hurt with the Chargers. It's a relatively favorable schedule for the Bears the rest of the way. The problem is the Bears, the old Herb Brooks analogy, you don't have enough talent to win on talent alone. And this is going to be something where the Bears are going to have to kind of luck into some of these wins just to be able to maybe have, at this particular point, they're going to be lucky to get to 4 wins. So let me know what you guys think. I know this was a bit of a quick one, but really, how much more could I say that the media already hasn't piled on for over the last 2 weeks, and the fact that there is absolutely no end in sight. We talked about it on the Wise Guys show earlier this, over the weekend with Chicago native Alex Ruiz, that especially now the talks ramping up of the Bears potentially moving Soldier Field, not so much leaving Chicago, but maybe moving to Hoffman Estates, Illinois, to be able to get the deal, because they won't renovate Soldier Field anymore, and Soldier Field turns 100 next season. Is that really far enough to be able to get the stench out of the air for what's going on in and out of the building with the Bears? And Alex even said, move them to Istanbul. I'm thinking to myself, could we be, the Tajikistan Bears might have a decent ring to it. Alex certainly would say that maybe that might not even be far enough away, as a Chicago native, just seeing firsthand how bad it's getting and how much worse it's getting each individual week. So again, let me know what you guys think. I will try to be back with you guys here a little later on this week. We actually have next week's Wise Guys show already laid out between Mike and myself. We are getting ever closer to the live show from Jacksonville for the war for the orb between the Florida and Georgia game. We've got a couple more things in the pipe coming up here just after that show, so probably right around the 1st of November. Very, very excited for those. A couple of new things possibly coming to the Sports Note, both on the blog and here on the YouTube channel. But I'll let you know more about those if they actually end up formulating and matriculating. And I will see you guys very, very soon. Take care.